going on, everybody? It's me, Shane, and I'm here to give you another Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation episode review recap. Episode 15, Slow Life in Doldia Village is where we are, and yeah, uh, I'm gonna get repetitious as I continue the series because each episode is just better than the next. And I did say last week, every episode builds on the last one. Even the current one helps lay down a foundation for the next episode. And that ending of last week, whew. But before I get any further, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. Definitely helps me out. Hit that like and leave a comment. Let me know how you doing, and let me know your opinion. So we are now in this rainy village of Doldia. We find out later on that it is the rainy season of the forest, and of course, we are treated to some, for lack of better words, fan service. Right? It's Eris. She's taking a rain waterfall bath with Gaze's daughter and I guess his niece. The name is Tona and Tanisha. It's probably Tonasia and Tanisha, but we call the cat girl right here Tona, and they're very friendly, like tickling Eris, jumping on Eris. Uh, very interesting to note. Very interesting to note. Dog girl is kind of covering herself, not really, because she's the more bountiful of the three, but they're doing whatever girls do in anime, and they're around that age. And of course, our local pervert Rudeus, he is hiding in a box with literally hiding in a box. And we have the sacred beast, the white fluffy dog. He just kind of knocking on there, and Rudy's like, "Get your own box. Just hold on a second." And of course, on the outside of the box now, it's Gaze. You know, the guy that ended up capturing him and I showed him his belly. He's like, "Oh man, I really messed up." Well, he's saying, "So Rudeus, what you doing in that? What brings you to this place? What you doing in that box?" He's like, "Oh, I like to people watch. That's a hobby of mine." And he sniffs the air. He goes, I you smell of sexual arousal," which that's a theme in this one. So, and I think it's funny that if they can smell sexual arousal, I want to know what Ghislaine. I finally learned how to say that name properly. I want to know if Ghislaine picked up any of his I'll say perviness when they were back in the city of Vitoria. Regardless, um, Gaze, Gaze says, "You know what? I'm sorry about accidentally putting you in jail by mistake. Thank you for saving the village, and you rescued the children. But if you ever touch my daughter," he puts a hand on that blade. Rudeus just pops out of the box, falls down, just says, "I'm sorry." And of course, the girls don't know what's going on except for Eris, who just gives him the little cute pouty frown. It's normal Rudeus. As always, the intro is this nice sweeping intro showing the kind of like the daily life of what goes on there with the rainfall coming down. Very beautiful. Again, art direction is very beautiful. I mean, this studio was made specifically just to bring this to life. So, good money well spent. Um, we have Eris, who's practicing her sword swings in front of the girls. Uh, Ruijerd, I'm just gonna say the O to help me pronounce his name correctly. I'm gonna pronounce that name correctly sooner or later. He is standing watch with one of the other village people. They're kind of just like watching some birds fly through the rain, which I think is pretty impressive because you don't get a lot of birds flying through rain in real life. Rudy is making a figure of RJ, which he tends to do actually with everyone he meets who he's close to. You always see him when he has extra free time making literally what we would call figures. They look way better than Funko Pops, to tell you that much. But the we also see that the North Saint Can't even remember Gallus. Can't believe I remember his name. North saying Gallus, he's in jail, and this time he's completely naked. But for some reason, the guy that helped Rudy throughout the whole fiasco, he's also in jail, but at least he gets to keep his clothes. He's wondering, why am I in here? And still through the sweeping of the credits, I noticed that all the younger folk are sitting on the floor eating with the sacred beast kind of behind them, while RJ, Gaze, and the village chief, they're kind of sitting on like this, I call it a couch, but they're sitting on what I call the couch eating, which makes sense. I keep forgetting that Rudy's like maybe 12 or 13, and Eris is like 15, 16. I keep forgetting how young they are because they are pretty adult. So, uh, Rudy is trying to train the sacred beast in English. So you hear him say one, two, three, all in English. No Japanese, just English. Eris is teaching the Beast Girls how to say, "My name is whoever," in the human god language, which you would call normal people language. Us would call normal people. It's the human god language, and she does a pretty good job. Rudy is very proud of her. He's like, "Man, I can't believe my very, our little Eris is actually teaching people." Because remember, she hated studying, and this is a very good device used to introduce these characters' names. I I'm kind of glad that they have somewhat nicknames. We can just call Tona, and call Tanisha her full name. That's not really a hard one to forget. Um, Gaze is saying, "All right, it's time to go to bed now," because of course Eris is doting over her. She likes cat beast people, of course. And Gaze notices the ring she has. She's like that. He's like, "That's a ring from Doldia. Where'd you get that from?" My sword master, Ghislaine, she's from here, and her and Rudy had actually completely forgotten about that, and they're wondering if they knew her. Room is silent, just super silent, and Gaze literally says he figured that she was dead in a ditch, and Rudy can tell, and he's like, "Yeah, there's some issues here. What happened? Well, she abandoned the village, the Doldia duty of guarding the forest and the sacred beast." I have to make a note here. Uh, she didn't abandon. I'm just gonna say that. There's one issue there. I need to. I hope I remember this. But he says that he pulls his daughter away. He says that she fled, and then he calls her a disgrace to her people. So the air is tense. Even Sacred Beast Doggy, the giant Shiba Inu, he's kind of whines a bit because of how tense this pressure is. Eris runs right after him, saying, "Who do you think you are?" She's completely mad. She's saying that that's her sword master. She's a great person. She's a nice person. She's always comes to help Eris when she's in need. And she's in tears talking about it also. So she can't believe someone would say all this about her beloved Ghislaine. And Gaze is pretty confused. He's like, "Wait, she's respected." And Rudy comes out, kind of to comfort Eris, telling her we might as well just drop the subject. And she kind of turns into him. He's comforting her. Very, very nice of him to comfort her, not be. I like that he isn't pervy when the situation definitely doesn't call for it. And he's holding on, and she's like, "Don't you like Ghislaine?" He's like, "Yeah, I do." But it's obvious that the Ghislaine that we know is not the same person that they know. And was it Gaze asked Rudy straight up, she became an admirable person. Is she an admirable person? And Rudy says, "At the very least, I respect her," which is a really great thing to say, given that he saved the kids and the village. So his word has some weight to it. We get nice little, Eris is looking at the ring. We get nice flashbacks of her time with Ghislaine that we were actually able to see. And the cat girl, Tona, comes in. Tanisha's with her, and she says, "Hey, I want to learn more about my auntie, Ghislaine." He's like, Eris is like, "Auntie?" Turns out, Ghislaine is the younger sister of Gaze. um, Eris flat out tells her, she's a sword instructor. It's almost regurgitating the same things, but says it differently. This is me, kind of for my notes, just seeing things playing out. But she's nice and strong. She always comes when she's in trouble. She's a great sword instructor, mind you. um, they switch between human god language and beast people language, and this is kind of this is Eris speaking in human language for right now, and Tona is doing her best to speak the human language and is saying, her dad always says, don't grow up to be like her, train with the sword and train your mind. But Tona hates the sword. And when Eris says, why don't you just not do it if you don't like it? Or her father gets mad. And we get a little touch moment where Eris kind of cups her face and goes, you're just like me. And, well, what do you mean? I'm just like you. And Eris says in their language, she hates studying, period. But, she's grateful for Ghislaine because Ghislaine taught her how to use the sword. And so we get a moment where it comes in Tona's head. Why doesn't Eris just teach her how to fight? So Nisia's like, oh, Uncle Gaze is gonna be pretty upset, and that's kind of dangerous. She's like, it'll be fine if Eris is the one that's teaching me. And of course, Eris says, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Now, I first thought that they were gonna use real swords because I saw, we get a flash of Tona here looking at Eris' actual sword that Rudy had gifted her, that that Roxy's people had gave to them. And the whole time, her father Gaze is just outside the hut with his arms folded, just listening to all of this. So they're training with wooden swords, mind you, in the rain. In this rain season, the giant trees with the wrapping boardwalks. And Eris is a very, very tough instructor. Gaze was speaking to Rudy, who was spending most of his time with the Sacred Beast. Says, his daughter always refused sword training. He asks, is, Ghislaine really Eris' master? Yeah, straight up, dude. That's her master. She's the sword king. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She's a sword king? Yeah, she's also Rudy's student in magic. And he's like, her using magic, you're joking. You're not joking. No, man, I taught her. She learned how to do reading, writing, arithmetic. And Rudy says the all important, just one small simple line: people change. So we get that's kind of like the end of that conversation, because I guess Gaze is just taking in all the great things that his sister has done while not being in the village. So we get more of a little montage of Eris training with Tona, and Tona's like jumping off of the side of the tree and stuff, doing all this cool stuff, and we get that a very really good drawing of a frog. They have frogs, and it's just the frog is there. It's a really good drawn frog. Just trust me. And it's important to note that it's kind of weird because these little things in the background, like the frog thing will come up again. Believe me. Actually, I'm gonna write down frog so I don't forget frog. And they're sitting. All three of the girls are sitting down to eat, and Eris says the funniest thing in my mind. She says, "You come a long way in these 3 months," and I'm like, "Wait a minute, they've been there for 3 months." Wow, I deeply appreciate how the passage of time is done in this show. Like, I don't have to get. It's not like your typical. It's not like a shonen anime where it's like, hey, you're gonna watch 7 episodes and that's gonna be 2 days, and then another 7 episodes that's 3 days. I appreciate this. Just keep it going, keep it moving. And at the end of the rainy season, is coming, and Tunisia says that pretty sadly because she can see that some of the villagers are standing on top of a hut that was completely underwater, but now the top of it's up. And Eris says, "Oh, cool. That means I'll be able to leave and find more monsters to fight." And Tona doesn't want to go. She just says, "Stay here with me. Stay here with us." Eris very plainly tells her, "I can't. I have a home to go to." Says in her language, but then says in the beast language, "I gotta go." So, Rudy's RJ statue is looking great. It's looking like all the other ones he's done. And he says, well, I don't have, and of course, cute little Sacred Beast dog is right there. And he says, I don't have much else to do, so I might as well be creative. Then he tackles the cute, the big fluffy dog. I love the fact that while he does have the mind of technically a 30 or 40-year-old, he's actually being a kid because technically he is a kid. He's enjoying this fluffy white dog and get a little cute little blushy face. But here's what's funny: the jailer girl from earlier, which I think that might be Gaze's wife, might be his wife. She says, the sacred beast always appears when the world is in peril, and when it comes of age, it travels with the hero. And for its, it becoming aroused is not really. And Rudy, he doesn't say. I don't think I don't know if he says it out loud or in his head, but Rudy says, "I'm not becoming aroused," because he's kind of straddled the giant dog, and the cat lady's just kind of blushing. But remember, they can smell arousal. I think she's talking about the dog because the dog has a blushy face. And again, we don't know the sex of this dog, and technically, if they haven't made a pink thing joke, if you know, you know. Pretty sure the Sacred Beast is probably feminine. But an important thing to note: Sacred Beast always appears when the world is in peril. The Sacred Beast has been a while, been around. That means something is going on. I love the hints that are thrown in because upon watching this, you probably wouldn't pay attention to it, but I I get the pleasure of analyzing a 24 episode anime in a whole hour. That's just what I do. But Tunisia comes in, speak, and and by the way, this whole conversation is in the Beast people language. I appreciate the fact that for the Japanese audiences, they translated into Japanese and they made up their own language. I love that they made up their own languages for this. I love the fact that you are in a different place, so it's not just going to be okay. We'll just have everybody just speak in the human. If it's a lot easier for them to speak in their language, I appreciate them doing that. Such good immersion. This is a good fantasy. But Tunisia comes up, tells them that Tona and Eris are fighting, and they're rolling around. Tona getting some punches in, and they're rolling around. You get Gaze holding his daughter back, and she's a cat girl, so she's doing a cute little hissing, and Rudy holds her back, and Tunisia says Tona wanted Eris to stay, and Eris says no. She has to leave, so Tona's mad, and Gaze is like, "Oh, come on now." And Rudy smiles. He's looking at Eris and saying, "You actually held back. I could tell you held back, because let's be honest, Eris could probably do a lot of damage to Tona if she wanted to, but she didn't." And of course, Eris goes, "Of course I held back." So Tunisia tells Tona to tell Eris she's sorry. Meanwhile, Tunisia is making some carvings. She's doing a little carving here. Interesting. There's a lot of I love the underlying storytelling in this episode because it's very obvious that she was paying attention to Rudy doing his own thing. She probably decided that she's going to do the same thing. But she says, tell her she's sorry. She says she hates stubborn jerks like her anyway. And this whole time I'm just going, oh, you're fighting because you're sad. Oh, and Papa Gaze comes in and tells her that Rudy and his party are leaving. Of course, she goes, well, good riddance. Well, he mentions that, when you were learning sword fighting for Eris, you were doing it for a long time. How did you like it? A little cat ear twitches. She's like, it was fun. Mind you, now she says it was fun. Yeah, here's it's meow. Translates meow, but yeah equals meow. Remember that. So these last four sentences she speaks all ends with nya or meow. She says Eris is a great teacher. She takes some getting used to, but she's earnest. And Aunt Ghislaine was a great sword master. We get some great backstory from Gaze saying you would know this because you weren't born yet, but she had none of the makings of a swordswoman back in the day. And we do get a nice picture of young Ghislaine looking much like her niece. Remember, Ghislaine is tall, muscular, busty, super fast, has a butt that's like a rock. Season 1, watch the episode. She said she wouldn't speak properly to anybody. She would train by herself, and she was a ruffian who would hit people and broke things when she was in a bad mood. She looks like a cat, so adorable. And the picture we get is her hissing at all the other people. And he says she was like a monster. He was happy when a wandering swordsman came into the village to take her away. And we get the guy that looks like, kind of looks like Paul. The thing is, I don't. Paul is human, so I don't think Paul is that old. It could have been Paul's ancestor. Could have been one of the Greyrat ancestors, because dude has that blonde tuft of hair. And I've seen pictures of older Rudeus. I will gladly spoil that for you. There, Rudy does get older, and there's a lot of inner makings in this show and in this series and this franchise that kind of make me go, I'm wondering who that guy was. I hope we find out who that guy is. But he was relieved that he wouldn't be lumped in with his failure of a sister anymore. But maybe it was his duty to help her out somehow, and he regrets it now. Maybe they could have understood each other a little bit better. And little doggy girl still doing her carving thing. And he says, but that's too late, and he doubts she will ever come back to the village again. Ghislaine has to be okay, because the ending, we see flashes of everybody that needs to come back together. She's probably okay. Just hope she's not in Fitora. Actually, we see a flash of everybody but Zenith. And I already know what happens to Zenith, so it's very interesting. Very interesting to know. But yeah, so her father, Gay, says, do you want that to happen between you and Lady Eris? Do you want a part like that? Rudy is in their barracks. Eris is laying down. There's kind of a bit of a miniature wall between them, like a 3-foot wall between them. He's telling her, yeah, we're making a beeline to Millis and leave tomorrow. We won't be coming back anytime soon. Of course, Eris slams on, like, what's your point? Rudy can hear that the cute little beast girls, they're not very quiet. They can't really see well at night. And Rudy kind of smiles as he packs, and he says, hey, sacred beast, let's go for a walk. And Sacred Beast's like, huh? He's like, just come on. And he gives them some alone time. Cat girl tries to sneak in like a cat. Of course, Eris hears her and is like, what do you want? And she apologizes for being selfish. And at this point, she bowed down and apologized for being selfish. Of course, Eris still shows her back. She's like, well, I have no choice now. Meaning she has no choice now but to forgive her, because she came all the way to apologize. And it's the cute realization that we get. You would have thought she's just making a carving out of Eris. No, she made a carving from Rudy and Eris the best way she could. Which I honestly think Tunisia might have been paying attention to Rudeus when he was doing his modeling thing or sculpting thing. And before we go to the next commercial break on Hulu, Rudy has 3 frogs, one that looks like the one we saw earlier, on stacked on top of each other on his finger. It's a very cute moment. I love that this episode is called Slow Life, because this is really good, just character building, world building episode. And as they're about to leave, the village chief thanks Ruijerd, saying, thanks to your work during the rainy season, we had no casualties. Please, when you come back, tell me about more stories of the old days. And they shake hands. And I keep forgetting that RJ is hundreds of years old. The demons in the demon plane do age a lot slower, because Roxy was 44, looking like she's 18, so makes sense. Where am I at here? And Rudy's like, wait, when did you two become friends? And it's a really good joke, because we're only focused on one thing, but a lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes in the show. It does a good job of being like, hey, there's a thing that happened. Now you just got to guess about what the thing was. Here we are. Of course, Rudy is thanked once again for saving the children. He can't do much to show his gratitude, but he says, you are always welcome back here. The girls are all having themselves a little girly cry, and of course she's going to come back soon. And Gaze comes and says, hey, I got something for you. I love how rude Eris is. She's just like, Nani. She's like, well, what? What is it? and he wants to spar with her before she leaves. He wants to see how great the teachings of Ylang was. So we get one action scene, sort of. They're both uh, yards apart. I'm gonna say miles. They're yards apart. Everyone's lined up that's in this farewell party to watch them. And Sacred Beast Dog is the one who's basically the starter pistol. It goes bark. They run towards each other. We get a nice little flash. They're on the opposite ends now, back to back. The clang of their blades, it rings for a very long time. And then Eris goes, "Oh man!" And what's his name? What's his name? Gaze is like, "That's a really great demonstration." And Ruby's like, "Wait a minute, it's over already?" And everybody's happy and kind of clapping and whatnot. And he's like, "Am I the only one who doesn't understand what happened?" I think this is also another joke upon the shonen anime trope. Like earlier, we didn't see the adventures that RJ went on. There was no extra episode for that. In this, they could have been doing all sorts of stuff during that clash. We and Rudy were not able to see that. Very funny moment. I appreciate moments like that. So they're saying goodbye. They're on the, RJ's driving the cart, of course. Rudy not only leaves his uh, Ruijerd statue, the really detailed one with gaze, he leaves a less detailed one with Tunisia that can accompany her Rudeus and Eris little carvings, and that's pretty dang sweet of him. So as they're traveling, Eris tells Rudy, "We're gonna visit back," and he's like, "Of course we are." And our man Monkey Face, the guy who was helping Rudy last episode to get these people free, the dude who made cheating gambling, but he's seems like he has a pretty good heart. He runs back and says, "Hey, can I catch a ride with you guys? I broke out. I just made a run for it. Trying to go to the holy country of Millis." And he tells the tale of the founder, Millis, apparently cleaved that entire road, trees and all, with one sword stroke. Which Rudy's even going like, that's such a tall tale. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you've been isekai'd. You're literally isekai'd, and you can do magic without saying incantations. Which, while Rudeus, because I couldn't cover this in season one because I had to lump it all together. Rudeus literally like, I'm pretty sure everybody else can do this, but they just think you can only say the incantations. Maybe he is special, like Edward Alric. But yes, um, they're passing past. They go past the stone. It has a bunch of symbols on it, and Rui's like, "So what? What is that?" It is a monument to the seven great powers. They have the seven strongest people there, and in order, he says, in order from one to seven, there's Technique God, Dragon God, Battle God, Demon God, Death God, Sword God, and North God. Gotta remember, Rudeus did defeat the North Saint. So you got to you beat level one, which is technically the seven strong. You beat level one, so good job for you. Apparently, RJ was trained to become one of those. And with how strong he is, Eric's like, "So you're stronger than them, right?" He's like, "Well, my name's not on that stone, so probably not." And this whole entire time, what's his name? Monkey Face. I'm gonna call him Monkey Face. We don't get a real name for him. Who calls him Boss and Lady Boss and Big Guy. Monkey Face is like, "Well, I've been adventuring for a long time. I've never come across even one of these people, so it's probably just a tall tale." Because Eris wants to meet one of them one day, probably to spar herself. And Rudy's like, if they're it's probably a sign to just lay low and be quiet. Because if there's someone that is stronger than RJ, if there's someone who even Ruijerd does not stand a chance against, they don't want to face this person. They wouldn't make it out alive. Very foreboding, and that's how our episode ends off. The next episode is called Family Squabbles, a thing that I did not make note of and paying attention to now. The ending, with the ending song for this, everything's been written down. It's like someone is chronicling what is happening to Rudy with his pals. It's probably Rudy himself in the future. I'm just gonna call it now. This is a really good show. Tons of layering thing. Even my little notes here. Even in these episodes where there's not much happening, they have tons of great foreshadowing. There's world building. You know, early on in season one, we learned about the different types, 3 different sword techniques. We learned about the different types of magic from Roxy. Really good world building. We learned about languages last season. I'm all for. I love slow episodes like this. Slow episodes like this. Even when our one action scene took place in literally a split second. So yeah, the family squabble thing. I'm hoping that it is Rudy meeting up with his father and then arguing either take Eris back or find his mom. I'm hoping that's what happens. Because family squabble, I hope it's not something that deals with Eris's family, because that's gonna be kind of, yeah. She still don't know that Grandpa's dead, so. But all in all, like I said, I find it hard to give these episodes ratings because this whole series as a whole is really really good. I mean, this isn't the most spectacular episode. Like if I were to rate it like how I do everything else, I would give it a 4. But at the same time, I want to give it a 5 because of backstory and world. This is a 5. This just, it's all a 5. But let me know what you thought of this episode in the comment section right down there. Please hit that like button. It helps for engagement, helps other people see the video. I definitely want to know what you think. If you are not subscribed here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you are, hit the notification bell because we do these videos every Sunday. I'm going to keep the Mushoku Tensei train rolling. As always, share the video so others can see what a great time we're having. I'm sorry this one went over, kind of went a little bit over, but I actually take longer than what my timestamp is saying to even analyze and watch this because there's a lot of really good stuff. There's character nuances, there's world building, like I said 7 times in this video. Great time to be had. As always, thank you for taking some of your time to spend time with me. Be good, be blessed. Wash your hands, of course. Wear your mask. Be safe out there. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Either way, don't be a jerk. And I will definitely see you guys next time.